All right, so this is the review for chapter 1. The test that's coming up, remember, if you're not going to be, if you're absent today, obviously they're not here, but hopefully they're watching this later. Or if you're going to be leaving early, just watch this thing, look at the notes and stuff, and then hopefully that'll help you out. Yeah, go ahead. So do me a favor, just make a pass. So we're going to go through these things pretty quickly. There are 9 of them, but I'm hoping that we'll be done with 20 minutes before the class ends and you guys can grab your phones, relax and stuff. But here we go. So example number 1, there's going to be one problem that's going to ask you what is the average rate of change of a function over a specific interval, right? So there is a formula for this, and it's not a hard formula, especially if it's written for you. The formula is this one right here. This is average rate of change. We call it the AROC, is f of b minus f of a over b minus a. Now, what is a and b? Well, a and b are the interval values. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug those numbers into my formula for a and for b. So it's going to look like this. F of b, that's f of 2, minus f of a, that's f of 1, over 2 minus 1. Now, my job is to figure out what is f of 2, what is f of 1. Okay, so f of 2. Now, you guys have calculators, so you'll be able to do this faster than me. F of 2, that means plug it into the formula, figure out what you get when you plug in a 2. So it looks like this, 2 times 2 squared plus 3 times 2. That's 2 times 4 plus 6. So that's 8 and 6, that's 14. So f of 2 is 14. Now let's figure out f of 1. We're going to plug in a 1 into this equation again, right? I just did that right now, plugging it into the 2x squared plus 3x. So 2 times 1 squared plus 3 times 1, that's 2 plus 3, which is 5. Okay? So let me plug that into my equation. Okay, f of 2 was 14 minus f of 1 was 5. 2 minus 1 is 1. 14 minus 5 is 9. Okay, 9 divided by 1 is 9. So my answer is 9. This is pretty easy to do. The hard part is figuring out what f of b and f of a are. But it's not like it's that difficult. You just get your numbers and plug them into the formula. Work them out, put them into the fraction. The numbers usually come out to really nice numbers. They're not like weird fractions or anything like that. Okay, so just plug them in, simplify. Again, you have calculators, so don't worry about like, oh, I got to do this times this squared. Like, just punch it into your calculator, right? And you should be okay. Are we okay with that one? So there's one problem like this, okay? I wish there was many, but only one. Okay, this one's pretty quick. Sorry? Oh, yeah. So this one right here, example 2, we're solving x squared minus 5 equals to 10. Okay, so it's a pretty basic problem. We don't have to do any kind of like factoring or anything. We're just solving. Okay, so in order to solve x squared minus 5 equal 10, we have to get x all by itself. Okay, so I'm going to move. Let me change this here. I just noticed I was using green instead of red. I apologize for that. But I'm going to move the negative 5 over to the right side. So I get x squared equal to, this is going to be 15. Now, in order to get rid of a square, we've said this a couple times prior, to get rid of a square, we do a square root on both sides. Okay, so that means that I have x equal to, remember, square roots always have plus or minus, and then the square root of 15. Okay, you said 55? Oh yeah, you can go. So the only thing you have to do now is figure out, can I simplify the square root of 15? So you're going to go on your calculator, you're going to press square root of 15, press enter. You're going to notice it's going to just write square root of 15. So it's just going to say square root of 15. So you can't simplify it. So that means this is your answer. You're done. There's going to be another one kind of like this, but with an imaginary answer, okay? Imaginary numbers. But there you go. X is equal to plus or minus square root of 15. So here's the next one. We're just going to multiply these things, okay? 2 plus 3i, 6 minus 4i. We're going to do distribution, okay? So I'm going to distribute 2 times 6, that's 12. 2 times negative 4i, that's negative 8i. And then 3i times 6, that's positive 18i. And 3i times negative 4i, that's negative 12i squared. Now, you notice the I squared popped up, okay? Really quick reminder. I is equal to the square root of negative 1. I squared is equal to negative 1. That's important because we're going to have to change this I squared right here next to the 12 into a negative 1, okay? So let's go ahead and start kind of cleaning this up a little bit because we pretty much already did the hard part. This is 12, negative 8 plus 18i, that's plus 10i minus 12. And remember, I squared is negative 1. Well, negative 12 times negative 1 becomes a positive 12, right? So it's going to become positive. So we have 12 plus 10i plus 12, which is 24 plus 10i, and you're done. You don't combine those two, okay? Because this is a normal number without a variable. This is a number with a variable. You can't just take 5 plus 3x. Like, those are not like terms. So you can add 24 plus 10 if it was just a 10, but not with the 10i. So there you go. There's a problem like that. This is not a hard problem. The only thing that's kind of tricky is the I squared, right? Don't forget about the I squared. You should be able to rewrite it as a negative 1. Any questions so far for the first three? Again, I don't think any of those have been super difficult. Maybe the first one a little tricky, but nothing too bad, okay? There's going to be questions like this. Same difficulty, okay? Same difficulty as this. They say simplify the multiplication of two radicals. You notice how both of these have a negative on the inside? I told you guys that if there's a negative on the inside, you take out the negative and you write the letter I. So this is I square root of 16. Hold on one second. Oh, hold on. It lagged. That's why I was like, wait a minute. What's going on here? Give me a second. Is this working now? Hold on. All right. Sorry about that. I had a technical difficulty here. But that's what happens. I radical 16. And then square root of negative 81 becomes I square root of 81. Okay? So now that I've done that, I have the square root of 16 is what? 4. So that's going to be 4i times the square root of 81, 9. So that's 9i. Well, that's 36i squared. But I squared is negative 1, right? I squared is negative 1. So this is 36 times negative 1. So your answer is negative 36. Again, not a hard question to do. You just have to know how to do it. But it's pretty easy, okay? It's just make sure you know the process, right? We want to make sure we know that process so that we can get the problems right. So there are questions like this. Almost exactly. I can remember what the problem is. It almost looks exactly the same, but it's not. But it's almost exactly the same. Oh, that one might be the little plug up there. Sometimes it'll lag up there, but it was weird that it was lagging on my screen. Oh, right there? All right. So example number 5 is the one that I told you that looks like example 2, but it's a little different. It has an imaginary solution. Okay. This is example number 5 right here. Solve x squared plus 4 equals 0. It looks pretty painless, right? Really small. nothing too difficult, right? But I still have to solve for it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this positive 4 and I'm going to move it over. Okay, so x squared is equal to negative 4. Okay, and then I'm going to take the square root of both sides. So square root of this side, square root of that side. So I get x equal to, remember, anytime you take a square root, it should be plus or minus the square root of negative 4. Now, since there's a negative inside the radical, that means we take it out as an I, right? So x is equal to plus or minus I square root of 4. And then the square root of 4 is 2. So x is equal to plus or minus 2I. Again, this is not a hard problem, guys. Okay, just remember the process and you should be fine. We're not doing some crazy like factoring and rewriting and stuff like that. That's coming up next. The X method's coming up next right now. But we haven't done any of that stuff yet, right? It's supposed to be pretty straightforward. Okay, there are a couple challenging problems. We'll get to some. We have 6 through 9 to do. Okay. And remember, these notes will be online. So if for some reason you're like, okay, I didn't get to see the final answer, but I can just get it later, I'll post it. So don't worry. Your notes won't be incomplete. Okay. So example 6 says solve this by factoring. So in order to solve by factoring, we need to do, well, this is trinomial, so we're going to do the X method. Okay. So let me put the X method right here. A, B, C goes there. A times C is negative 12. B is negative 4. Okay. Now I'm going to think of two numbers that multiply negative 12 that add up to negative 4. That would be a negative 6 and a positive 2. Since I have to divide by A, but A equals 1, that means I don't have to divide, right? So these are the two. So the factors are x minus 6, x plus 2 equal to 0. Okay? So let's break this up into two parts and solve. So this becomes x equal to 6. This becomes x equals negative 2. These are my two solutions, and I'm done. Okay? Now, if you're wondering, wait a minute, that seems too easy. I remember the ones we were doing yesterday. Not only did you solve for x, you also had to solve for y. Yeah, I did. But that's because I had two equations in those problems, right? Here I only have one, x squared minus 4x minus 12. Okay? When you get two equations, you got to solve for points. That's going to be the last example that we do. Okay? That's the one that's, I think, the toughest one out of the whole test. There's only one, but there's one that's pretty tough, and that's going to be example 9 when we get to it. Are we okay with this one? Factoring, solving, hopefully everything's okay. This one is a twofer, okay? Two problems in one, because there's going to be one problem on your test that's going to say use the quadratic formula to solve for that. And then there's going to be one problem in your test that says find the discriminant. How many answers does it mean that we have? Okay, so there is a formula for your discriminant. I'm going to kind of write it down on the right side along with its meaning. So b squared minus 4ac. That's the formula for the discriminant. B squared minus 4ac. But it has meaning to it. If the answer, when you plug in your numbers to b squared minus 4ac is less than 0, meaning if it's negative, you have no solutions. Okay? If, when you use the discriminant, b squared minus 4ac, and it equals to 0, you have one solution. If you do b squared minus 4ac, and it's bigger than 0, so a positive number, if the answer is positive, that means you have two solutions. Okay? The discriminant isn't three formulas, it's one formula. but it can have three meanings. A negative result, no solution. A zero result, one solution. A positive result, two solutions. Okay? It's easy to do, guys. Don't freak out that this is long. This whole problem is actually very simple. You just need to know the formula and you should be fine. Okay? And maybe some calculator work. So here we go. Find the discriminant of that problem. Okay? This is my A, my B, and my C. My formula is B squared minus 4AC. Okay? Let me plug in my information. Negative 3 squared minus 4 times 1 times negative 2. I just plugged it in. All right, negative 3 squared, that's 9. Negative 4 times 1 times negative 2, that's positive 8. So my answer is 17. So when they say, what's your discriminant? 17. That's my discriminant. How many solutions do I have if my discriminant is a positive 17? How many? 2. I have 2 because 17 is bigger than 0. So I'm going to write 2 solutions. That's not hard to do. I just need to know my discriminant. I need to know this number. Okay? Now let's use the quadratic formula to solve. So I'm going to rewrite the problem right here because I don't want to keep like moving up and down on that. So I'm going to leave it right there. The quadratic formula has a formula, of course, right? It's called the quadratic formula. So here we go. X is equal to negative b plus or minus the square root of the discriminant, b squared minus 4ac, over 2 times a. Here's the good news. I already know what the answer to the discriminant is, right? The b squared minus 4ac, this part inside of the radical, what am I going to put right here? 17, right? I did it already. I already got it done. So it'll make it a little bit faster. Here we go. So x is equal to negative of a negative 3, because b is negative 3, plus or minus the square root of 17 over 2 times a. That's 2 times 1. We're almost done. Okay? We got one more step in this problem. We'll be finished. X is equal to 3 plus or minus the square root of 17 over 2. This is my final answer right here, okay? And if you're thinking, well, wait a minute, you didn't simplify it. I can't simplify it. Square root of 17 doesn't exist as two sets of numbers. It's just a square root of 17. So if my calculator can't simplify it, I'm just going to leave it alone. Okay? So there you go. 3 plus or minus the square root of 17 over 2. We got 2 more examples. This next one is quick. You may not want to write it down. Example 8, just focus on it. Make sure you understand what I'm saying. And then 9, you're going to definitely want to write down. So here we go. We're almost done. Like I said, we'll have time before class is over. Let me wait till he gets back. Yeah, he's out right now. I don't know how long it took, but Jonathan's out. So is this the correct graph for this function? Now, on your test, it's going to be a multiple choice test, okay, for this question. Actually, for 2 questions, there'll be multiple choices. They're going to give you 4 different variations of the same picture, okay? One of them will look like this. The next one might be shaded inside. The next one might have a solid line with the shading below. The next one might have a solid line with the shading above. There's 4 variations they can give you. A, B, C, D. You're going to pick the right one. How do I know which one is the correct one? Really depends on the inequality. See how it says greater than? Okay? Greater than, not greater than or equal to. Greater than means the line should be dashed. So is my line dashed here? Yes, it is. So far, so good. Because it says greater than, you have to shade above the graph. Is this yellow area right here towards the bottom, is this above the graph? No. So is this the correct graph? No, it's not. The correct graph would be shaded right in there. Let me get the phone. P7 video. Sure. Yes. Bye. Jaden, that's for you. So as I was saying, on this one, if it would have been shaded inside where the red thing was, then this would be a yes. But right now, this is a no. Okay? That is not correct. Okay? So you're just going to have to pick the right one. All the pictures will look identical, but they will be shaded in different regions. The lines may be dashed or solid. So pay attention to the inequality. Like I said, this is the key right here. Okay? This will help you do it right. You don't have to even do any work. It's all visual. Okay? So I'll make sure to write down like greater than or equal to, shaded above, right? I'll do all that stuff for you guys. Here's the last one, and then I'm done. We get out of here at 37, so I don't know if I can give you 20, but I'll at least give you 15. I'm pretty sure I can do 15 minutes of free time. I'm going to blame the glitchiness and the phone call, right, for me taking a little bit longer. So this is one of those problems from like yesterday, okay? And today during fourth period, I actually made a mistake. I subtracted wrong. And one of my students called me on it. And I'm like, oh, you're right. I actually made 2 mistakes back to back. Okay. So again, mistakes are normal. We try not to make them. It happens to everybody. Okay. Don't get upset with yourself if it happens. I do them all the time. Okay. And I've been doing this for, well, if you include elementary school, I've been doing this for over 30 years, right? So yeah, it happens. Anyway, we're going to solve these 2 functions. Now, notice it's 2 functions. That means that this is 2 pictures and they're going to be intersecting each other. That means I'm looking for points, not just x's. I need x's and y's now, okay? So the way the instructions are normally told to you in the homework was to solve this by using substitution, okay? So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to substitute this way. I'm going to get this y, which says it's negative 2x plus 2. I'm going to plug it into this one over here. Okay? So let me go ahead and do that. So that'd be y squared plus negative 2x plus 2 equals to 10. Remember, guys, anytime I plug something in, I always put in parentheses just to make sure I don't mess up. Let me simplify this. X squared minus 2x plus 2 equals to 10. Okay, one of the mistakes I made earlier is for some reason I put 12 right here. I don't know why, but I wrote down 12. Now I'm going to subtract 10 because remember, in order to solve, you need to set it equal to 0. So I'm going to subtract 10. So this is x squared minus 2x minus 8 equals 0. Unless you want to wait, and that's up to you. So 2 minus 10 is negative 8. So here we go. Now I get to factor using the x method, right? So I get to factor using the x method. So here we go. This is my a, my b, my c. Thankfully, a is 1, so I don't have to worry about division. So let's see. A times c, that's negative 8. B is negative 2. I need 2 numbers that multiply to negative 8 that add up to negative 2. So this would be negative 4 and a positive 2. Okay, so let me write those down. Then I'm going to solve for them. X minus 4, x plus 2 equals 0. Now I got to break them up, solve each one individually. So x minus 4 equals 0. X plus 2 equals 0. So my answers for x, not for x and y, just for x, are 4 and negative 2. But this is not my final solution. I need to now plug it into the original problems or the right side equation and then do those little if statements, right? If x is 4, what happens? If x is negative 2, what happens? So here we go. If x equals 4, if x is negative 2. And then I'll find my points right now. and then I'm done. Okay, like I said, this is probably like the hardest problem from the whole exam. Something like this. Okay, and there's only one. There's not many. So if I plug in a 4, I get y equals negative 2 times 4 plus 2. So my answer is negative 8 plus 2. So that's a negative 6. So 4 negative 6. Again, you guys use your calculators. You don't have to do it by hand. I'm just doing it really quickly by hand. And then x equal to negative 2. So y equals negative 2 times negative 2 plus 2. Y is equal to 4 plus 2. Y is equal to 6. So negative 2, 6 is my solution. And I'm done. So this is the stuff you guys need to know for tomorrow's test.